Greetings everyone, I'm Record the second and this is the first update video on more mobs. Yes, I promised that I'll be making those on a regular basis, and here I am with the first one. Now you can notice that I'm still playing the demo version of Minecraft. However, it doesn't really surprisingly limit me that much. The thing that I cannot do is only right clicking. See, this trident doesn't get used except if I'm in water. I can demonstrate it actually works because it has the which one of them, Riptide enchantment I think is the one that's responsible for that effect. But either way, cannot break any blocks. It works in creative mode, but it turns into ghost blocks, and if I reload it's gonna be back at place. So survival is pretty much impossible here, but I am still able to do lots of stuff, and that's what I started with. So first off, I wanted to work on the Cyclops mob that I have planned for more mobs overworld, and it is connected to the Ender boss. He's called Ender Cyclops. I don't know if I announced that already, but I definitely made that decision. So the original plan was to create him using guardians, and that's what I wanted to go for. That was the default look, and unfortunately guardians didn't work in the way I wanted them to. So basically what's supposed to happen is that the guardian is supposed to follow you with its head. So the Cyclops will be watching you no matter what, just like the guardian's pupil, but on a bigger scale, so the whole head is turning to the player. Now that effect doesn't work with guardians. I assume that is to do with the water properties. It looks like he's moving, but it's actually just a visual effect. I'm not a developer, I don't know how exactly this works, but this is my assumption. So anyway, this is the finished texture. So what I want to do is I want to keep just one cube, but essentially I added those parts on the bottom. I also want to add horns, but as it turns out, every horn uses the same texture. So instead of just having like a few, I would have all of them if I textured one of them. So that was thrown out of the window. And Jesus, this guy is kind of loud, so let's make him a little bit quiet. I'm not really keen on those new commands, I'm not really used to them. But I'm getting the hang of it for the most part. So anyway, this dude right here was supposed to be the true Cyclops, but I discovered that it doesn't work. So I moved to try with shulkers, and they do kind of work, but it's a little weird. So I retextured this shulker minimally. Of course, this is not going to be the final texture. I'm not very into texturing, but I'm getting into it since I'm using for more mobs. From the very beginning, I wasn't gonna use any resource packs. Oh my god, I cannot talk. Resource packs. I don't remember what was the reason, but my intent was not to rely on them. So the only thing you need to know is just install the structures. That's how I used to work. But now with data packs, when they announced them, I saw, well, if it can only be in one place, why not? And I started working towards that, and I have a lot of sketches in my sketchbook for more mobs, but they're still separate. Well, anyway, I'm open to using them. So this is a texture I made. It's going to be similar. It's going to have some kind of mouth, not this of course, but the eye will stay similar. So, and as you can see, I was doing that with the guardian. The pupil doesn't follow me because it's invisible, and the actual eye is in the other layer. It's actually interesting how those textures work and models and how they combine. But anyway, let's summon the guy that I wanted to summon. So anyway, summon. I'm not saying stuff correctly. So this was going to be the actual Cyclops. I want to use the husks because first it was tall, and yeah, it is really similar to the Cyclops from the Divine RPG mod, but they were different in my view. So I'm still planning them, of course, but not really sure how to do it right now. We'll see about that though. So let's just summon this guy. I think I gave it the tag of duh, and that's, I know it's dumb, but anyway. So I'm just going to remove any loot and make it silent, and do the same for Guardian. So this is how this mob was supposed to look, and well, you'll see in a second why it doesn't really work the way it used to. So occasionally he was supposed to turn his head, but it doesn't work with Guardians, as I mentioned. So let's just move to game mode 0 and hope this guy... Oh, he doesn't have any AI. Yeah, that's my bad. So let's just give him some AI, I guess, and see how that turns out. So we'll just make him really easy to kill. And you see, he doesn't follow me because he's a neutral mob. But it does really look kind of weird because with no AI and no actual rotation, the Guardian will not move, and that's what I don't want. So I decided to use the shulkers. So that's oh, this is the mistake. Okay, then anyway, let's try the same with shulkers, and you'll see that it's supposed to work. And as you can see, it does. They don't turn all the way, but the effect that I achieve with this is pretty much satisfying for me. The only problem I have is that, first of all, I cannot really demonstrate since I'm playing the demo, but projectiles will reflect, will bounce off of the shulker, as you know. So that's a problem. One of the things I wanted to do with this mob is when you hit him, he's gonna be like llamas. He's just gonna attack you once. What I did is I wanted to give him two ways of attacking. So one of it is laser beams from eyes or something like that, and not actually a laser, but some kind of projectile or some kind of effect. I'm not sure yet. That was the intent. So that's number one, and number two is he would just kick you, and he has really high knockback, so I would be like somewhere here or maybe even in the water, and it was a lot of damage. So you won't really want to mess with them except you're prepared and they drop something valuable, which I haven't planned yet, but of course they will. And either way, they are kind of similar to the Divine RPG ones, but the thing is, if you hit his eye specifically and not any other part of his body, he would get angry, and he would never turn peaceful except if he forgot you, if he despawned, or basically forgot you existed. Just like the zombie pigments, they will be, they were angry, they will turn peaceful towards you. But this guy will remain hostile once you hit his eye. And I wanted to make this effect, so there's no way you can just hit him on the head. You can only hit his eye, and that's what I want to do with Guardians. It's not very achievable with shulkers, as you see, because they don't turn all the way. Effect is still pretty good, but I'm not sure if I can use it, because as I mentioned, the projectiles will bounce off. They also will suffocate in blocks, and as you know, they behave like blocks, so you can just stand on this guy if you want. And I'll take a screenshot of that. Thank thank you. So this is not what I wanted. Maybe I'll eventually run with it, but we'll see. So let's kill our dude here. And I think I programmed the same property for the actual Cyclops body, which is the husk. Not entirely sure. But he's supposed to trim his head too. I tried it out, it didn't work the way I wanted it to. Basically, I need a second entity to detect if you're actually hitting its eye. So if it's gonna just rely on the husk, it will still need a second entity to detect the eye damage. So if I don't end up using shulkers, I just use some kind of hitbox entity, like I did with the challenger mob, which I didn't. Oh shit, I didn't even show it. Well, that's a little spoiler, but I guess it's fine. So I kind of stopped working on this mob, and I haven't divided the videos in two parts yet, but it will definitely be separate for Nether, the end, and the overworld, since the more mobs is a pack that is separate for 3 dimensions, and it will be released separately until I'll release the last one, and I'll probably combine them together. So I will be concentrating on working on the overworld mobs, but I kinda wanted to give a try to the nether stuff. And the first thing I did is the mob called Marfyr. Now, I'm not really sure how to even pronounce it, but this is the mob that is a replacement for wizard souls. I have a lot of screenshots of them, you're gonna probably see them right now. So either way, these guys are pretty strong, and I haven't changed much about them, but thanks to the new commands, they're actually cooler than they used to be. And since I'm using the resource pack, I'm going to give them the texture that I draw in my sketchbook. So that's all gonna be a thing. He's going to drop something similar, and I also plan to add him in the Ender dimension too. The end dimension, I mean. So that should be interesting. And since I'm using a lot of ghost mobs, such as the Lost Soul, Dragon Ghost, and another one I'm not really in it yet, I think it would have to keep up the consistency of the pack, since there's already Vexes, and you know, that kind of stuff kind of makes sense. It all makes sense together, so I think it'll be a fine addition. And I'm pretty much fully decided on the way he will work. So let me show you him first, right here, if I have the command, and I think I do. So we'll just summon him right here. Summon. I have this issue. It's going to be a stray, and as you see, he's exactly like the good old wizard soul. Still flies. The problem with this entity is that mobs cannot actually control the elytras, so they'll just fly any way they spawned with the elytras. So if he was facing this direction, he'll fly in this direction, and he would not be able to change that in any way. And let's actually times that to 6,000. That should look nicer, and it does. So there's this interesting effect. I'm using the strays because, well, let's think about it. This will use, unfortunately, you'll have to rely on Optifine, which is a really great mod, and I don't see why anyone would not use it. And it's not hard to get it, and it's not really a big mod thing. You don't need a forge loader or anything like this. So basically, it's a very good one. At this point, I want all this to be in vanilla. I think Optifine is a good thing to go with. So I already have this texture. I'll show you the texture in a second. I'm going to remove the armor, or maybe I'll do something with it. I'm not sure yet. But what I wanted to do is essentially make his texture blend in with the elytras to make him kind of similar. You see on the bottom he has the wizard texture. I haven't fixed that yet, but that will come, of course. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So this guy doesn't really have anything to him at the moment. He'll have all the scary sounds, but he already has most of the AI done. So let's just test how he works in survival, and let's go to the nether for that part, because it'll be his natural habitat, and that will make sense for me to test him in the nether specifically. So let's jump right into the portal and summon this fella. So here's the nether. Here's nether. So let's assume you're just standing on this platform, and all of a sudden you see this guy. First of all, I'm going to go to survival mode, and someone right there in the sky. As you see, he glides right towards me, and no matter what, no matter how I move, he will chase me around like this. And you will notice he has the same properties. He doesn't wither me, since he's not a wizard soul again, anymore. But he will still be really strong and will kill you really quick. The problem with the previous version was that he couldn't really follow you, and occasionally he could just fly away and maybe even despawn, because as you saw in the beginning when I just demonstrated him in creative mode, he flew really far, because that's how Elytra works with these mobs, and they always look really up, so it's gonna take them a while to glide. But with this thing now, I'm just making him look in my direction. The same thing, exactly the same thing I used for the Cyclops mob. And you can see him, he's going to be jumping again. It will also fix the issue of the mob getting hurt all the time. What I wanted to do is I wanted to show how he will do it no matter where you are. So if he was from the bottom, if I was on a higher platform than he is, he would be looking at me still. So that's how it works. He's pretty quick. I don't even need to adjust that, I think. Just to make him a little bit more dangerous, I may. But the biggest part is that he's gonna be strong, rare, and hard to find. And hard to find. Not to find, but to fight. So that's it for this guy, for now. And I haven't done anything yet with more mobs in this world specifically. But as I said, even though I don't have a full version, which will be absolutely necessary to test everything I need to test, since I need to use right click, and if I add custom food, which I probably will, but it won't be in the custom in the way you think, probably. And I'm burning. Barely, I might even die. I did. Well, anyway. So of course I need the full version for this stuff to work properly. But either way, this is not gonna stop me now. I'm going to be working on it. I'm getting a hang of doing textures. In my opinion, his texture is pretty neat, and I can show it to you actually better if I just summon the wizard skeleton, because I wanted to go with it first, but then I thought since Optifine will need to use entities in the places they were not supposed to be in. For example, husks aren't really common in the plains biome. That's why I'm using husks for the Cyclops. That's why I'm using the wizard skeletons for Ender Cyclops, and this is why I'm using the Stray for Marfyrs, and I'm going to be using that for all kinds of textures, because this is how it works. The entity needs to be in a different place for it to change the texture and to look differently. Ultimately, that is the goal. So despite that he has no AI, he will still look at me. But as you see, because of that, he cannot actually get to me. Since he has no AI and he's just gonna be stuck in the air, like he has no gravity. Which I think they should bring back. But I mean, the backlash was so big that people are just used to have them with no gravity. There's no AI, which doesn't really make sense, but I guess they made it the way it used to be to satisfy the people. But either way, um, yes, I just wanted to give you a better look at the texture. Let's just kill this guy and summon him right at our position. Summon. Oh my god, I need to learn how to say that. Summon. So, oops. Well, anyway, that's how he looks. If you look at this part of his texture, at his face specifically, and at this part, it does blend in. Especially if you saw the texture that I showed before in the video, it makes a lot of sense. And wow, this is actually I didn't specify this part, but I may even keep it. I mean the tears and this thing, whatever it is, the straight texture. It does look pretty dope. But again, I was going to show you this on the Wither skeleton, since I intended to use it on him first, but I changed it, and the texture is still present. That will of course be changed. So, I haven't finished the body yet. It's just a noise of this, as you see, electro texture. It's pretty good. So let's just replace item entity all entities tag Marfyr. I think no, we only need this is type wither skeleton, and just like that. I'm actually an idiot because it needed to be replaced. Here we go. So this is how it looks from behind. Nothing really changed. So this is it. I will draw more. It will not be a skeleton, it'll be something else. I'm not sure what it's gonna be yet. Maybe I'll give him some kind of clothes, but I'm going for the whole ghost thingy. So he's going to be really similar to the Vaxis, which I'll summon right now to give you a comparison. So here it is. As you see, they are really similar, especially with the color gamut. And it's not necessarily what I'm going for, but it's not necessarily something I'm against. So why not? I'm adding more mystical creatures to the game, more mystical items, and this is actually better with the next. So yeah, you can have a good look at his face. I haven't changed that yet. I was going with this texture and with that color gamut, but I got this idea to make it similar to the elytra wings. And it's going to be explained. Basically, this guy will be the origin of those wings, maybe. And this is why he's going to be in the end as well, but I'm not sure. As I said, I'm not adding lore anymore, because it does make sense, and I want it to be more like actual vanilla Minecraft, so no lore. Not like TTB. Not against lore, but it depends on what style you're getting. What style you're going for, and this is not what I'm going for, so I'm not using lore anymore. Sounds interesting. So yeah, his face may need some more work, but I'm pretty satisfied with it as it is now. Though yeah, some kind of texture will be better because it just looks like a block, and some face patterns on it. So I'll work on this. I'll basically just improve this thing, and I'll improve everything until I'm completely satisfied with how everything works. So while I was working on this specific part, I discovered lots of things, and they're definitely gonna be stopping me and preventing me from making the stuff as good as I intended it to be. And I'm still using the Guardians for the Cyclops and the Cyclops, probably, because I want to go for the look and I want the laser attack to be present, but I might change it to a bit similar, to make it a bit similar like the Cyclopses, which will not rely on Guardians anymore, so I will have to make a specific attack for it, and I'll probably use something like that, but slightly different with the Ender Cyclops. So maybe I'll even replace this Guardian there. But either way, this is the end of episode 1. For more mobs, thank you all for watching, and Links can be found in the description, cards, whatever. And as always, stay. I didn't mean to do that.